Welcome to the SaaS Revolution Show, a podcast by SaaSdoc. Here we interview SaaS founders from around the world who've been there and done that, as they share the ins and outs of how they built their businesses, their operations, their path to securing investment, and more. Our mission with the podcast is to help you, the founder, learn how to scale your SaaS, maintain your well-being, and navigate the complexities of this ever-changing industry. I'm your host, Alex Theuma, and together we'll explore the good, the bad, and the ugly in the journey to SaaS success. Welcome to the SaaS Revolution Show. I'm your host, Alex Theuma. Delighted to be joined today by Mikita Mikado, who's the CEO and co-founder of PandaDoc. Welcome, Mikita. How are you doing?
Hi, Alex. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to have you on the podcast for the first time. And this is sort of like preempting you flying over to Dublin to join us at SaaSdoc Europe, which is happening 14th to the 16th. So delighted that you'll be coming over to SaaSdoc and speak for the first time. So just under 2 months until then, but great to have this opportunity to speak to you before then. I always like to start by just asking a simple question, but it could be deep depending on how you interpret it. But would love to know who is Mikita Mikado.
I'm a dad. I have 3 kids. I think that's my core role on this planet.
Yep.
The
hardest job.
It is a hard job, but also a very rewarding one. A fun one. I like to build things. I enjoy outdoors, nature, surf, I'm on bike, and I try to spend as much time outside as I can. I was born and raised in Belarus, and at the age of 19, I exported myself to the United States of America, where I live now.
Awesome. Whereabouts in the US do you live? Are you West Coast?
West
Given
Coast.
The surfing?
Yeah, we just moved to Santa Cruz, California.
Okay, very nice. I've never been, but I've heard it's very nice, and it looks sunny as well. Good stuff. Well, thank you for sharing that, Mikita. And so, obviously, you're, co-founder of PandaDoc. Tell us a little bit about the founding, sort of like what you, as you said, you love to build things. Like, why have you built this business?
My co-founder and I wanted to solve a tangible problem, one of the problems that we had at the time, and build a business out of it. It's not the first thing we built. We met at a band something like 20 years ago. It was drums, I was bass, and we became friends. And my co-founder Sergey was the smartest guy I knew at the time. So when I thought of starting a business, there wasn't a better person I can convince to do this with me. And after some time of just working together on random projects, we decided to create a consulting company. That consulting company turned into a product company. That product company turned into another product company, and then finally that turned into PandaDoc. It was a very gradual process. I wouldn't say we had this aha moment. And it was rather like probably 100 different moments, and each one of those moments pivoted the way we think and what we want to do. And then again, gradually we got to what we're working on today. And then when we started working on PandaDoc, sort of version 1 was very, very different from what PandaDoc is today. So yeah, that's the story in retrospective.
Regarding the band, have you ever thought about what if we didn't build a business and go into SaaS, and what if we were rock stars right now, or the band, stuck with the band, or was that never going to happen?
I think that would never happen. And if it would, like, I'm glad we're in software business, because I don't think I'd last long as a rock star. Like, too many temptations and too little willpower. So it's good.
I wonder if there is. I imagine there would be more traveling as a rock star than as a SaaS CEO. But
I don't like that no more.
Yeah.
So
fair enough. Good stuff. And so, in terms of, remind me when you founded PandaDoc. What was the year?
PandaDoc. Well, it depends on where you start to count. The company is 14 years old. However, the company got started with a different product, different brand. The focus of that product and the type of customers we served were quite similar. However, it was called Quotroller, it was called something else. And then it was pretty narrow, it had a very narrow, very pointed use case that the software solved for. And then at some point, we decided to broaden our horizons and launched PandaDoc. As a product, I'd say PandaDoc is 11 years old. 10 years old, actually, 10 years old.
Okay. And so now let's say 2014 was when it first came to market as a product. We're now in 2024. What data can you share about the company to help give the audience, the listeners, a picture of where you're at today?
We help more than 60,000 businesses to streamline their work with contracts and quotes, proposals, all kinds of transactional documents, forms. We're a team of more than 600 people spread across the globe. We're a distributed team. Let's see what else can I share. What else can I share? We hit the unicorns, which you can find online.
You've taken some VC backing. How much have you raised, and are you able to share like revenue or growth rates or any other interesting sort of metrics?
Interesting metrics. $100 million business for we're past that landmark. Very capital efficient. We raised less than that, and we spent way less than that. So I think that would be relevant, I guess. There's some scale to PandaDoc, let's put it that way. It's a good, healthy business. We sure are proud of what we built, and we're excited to carry on.
So let's so obviously congrats in passing 100 million, no easy feat, and a very, very small percentage of SaaS companies are able to do that. Want to rewind back to your first 1 million ARR. So assuming some time ago now, but perhaps you can share a little bit in terms of maybe how long that took, and what you did to get there, what you had to do to get there, and any sort of key learnings.
Yeah, absolutely. It took us a long time. I can be precise because we raised our first round of funding, our first institutional round of funding, right around that landmark, $1 million in annual recurring revenue. So that must have been, it must have taken us 4.5 years to get to 1 million. And that's quite a while. Many more companies crossed that landmark a lot faster than we did. We did that at the time out of Belarus. I was going back and forth between US and Belarus, but I was primarily stationed there. And we were trying to sell into Western companies, like being physically there. I didn't know what I'm doing, to be frank, when it comes to go to market and we've been figuring out a lot of things as we were progressing forward. So yeah, it took a while, and it was a pretty tough endeavor.
So yeah, in like PandaDoc, I imagine, sort of like back then would self-service from a go-to-market motion. Obviously, correct me if I'm wrong. So how did you get that first 1 million? Was there any founder-led sales involved? Like, what was the strategy that helped you get there?
Yeah, as I mentioned prior, 1 million has been hard, partially because from the very beginning we were an inbound-driven, product-led business that served SMBs. And when you serve SMBs, it is hard to build a flywheel that brings customers onto your website, converts them from your website into your free trial or freemium product, then converts from there into paid subscription, and then adds enough value so that those customers renew. It's a pretty tedious kind of work that can take forever, and it did take sort of forever for us, 4.5 years. A lot of things that didn't work. I like to think that building a business at that stage is quite similar to trying to fundraise at that stage. For me, it was hundreds of conversations and hundreds of no's. And similarly, with all the experimentation that you do with this newly built inbound channel, 99 things out of 100 just don't work. But I think I had a lot of resilience. My co-founder had probably even more. Some of the early teammates who we had on board, again, we're believers and we're quite resilient. And finally, some of the attempts, some of the channels, some of the tries, they pan out, and over time, things that work out, they start compounding. So yes, like over the course of 4 years, we've probably made enough attempts so that some of those started to compound, and over time, you watch that MRR number, and it slowly, really slowly but surely grows. And it started like $100 in monthly recurring revenue, which come from, let's say, 10 customers. But then when you observe how quickly that starts to grow, it can double every month, triple, and so on and so forth, then over time that might create a pretty good growth rate. And when you have enough time, that good growth rate might be just enough to get you over this hump of 1 million.
Thanks for sharing that. And I want to go, obviously this is a big sort of like gap, right? A big journey from 1 to 100 million. And then if obviously my maths is correct, that's taken you 6 years, right? So 4 years to 1, 6 years to 100, from 1 to 100. And I'm pretty certain from 9 years of running SaaSdoc that we know that just scaling is hard, right? It's not, getting to 100 million is not an overnight thing. And I'm sure the scaling challenges, and whilst you've been successful to get to 100 million, it's probably been, some challenges and learnings along the way. And I'd love to kind of or for you to sort of break it down to help us understand, maybe some of the key things that you've done really to get there. Would love to learn, and perhaps maybe we'd like to start around the go-to-market, and maybe you can if you want to break this down from 1 to 20, 20 to 50, or even just go through from the 1 to 100 sort of mark. What have you changed, if anything, around the go-to-market that's kind of really helped you, accelerate, let's say, getting to that 100 million mark?
All right. So where do we start? Key learnings on 0 to 1?
No, well, I guess we've done 0 to 1. So if we do now 1 to 100, right? But maybe you can just pick sort of any moments between 1 to 100, like some of the key things that you change for go-to-market to kind of help you do that. Obviously, there's a lot more people within the organization, but has it remained product-led? Has it remained like people finding content and so on, and so forth?
Sure. Okay. I will start from the 0 though, because that would help me to build a cohesive story. And super early days, I'd say our business and our team, most importantly, our team was really split in between like 2 people or 2 areas of responsibility: product and then go to market. The more we scaled, the more it overlapped. However, in the very early days, I did everything that needed to be done, and my co-founder did everything that needed to be done. Perhaps from about 100,000 in annual revenue, we started adding people on board. On the engineering front, we had a few, I think it was 3 people that worked alongside Sergey. Yeah, it was a team of 4 people. But then past the 100K, we built some conviction and we've started hiring. So the folks we were hiring, the ones that have been successful at their jobs, were generalists. We had this wonderful lady that did support, marketing, some sales, everything. Her name is Jan. She's been wonderful. She's been doing everything for us. And again, that's where we need it. With this team of generalists, we had a marketer that could do pretty much all aspects of marketing. That helped us to scale to 1 million. Team of generalists, everyone was chipping in the areas of need rather than their domain expertise. Then if I was to simplify sort of and cut the corners on how I picked on the team composition from 1 to 20, we've started to specialize. However, the specialization within the team was primarily done around functions. We got marketing function that got defined. We got a sales function that sort of got defined, customer success function, support function, and then R&D, right, product function. However, within those functions, people still were generalists. And that worked quite well for some time. I probably don't really remember whether this was around $10 million of ARR or $20 million of ARR. But that's when we brought in, and full disclosure, I have more context on the business side of PandaDoc, and that's where most of my memories sort of sit, versus the product side. But then that was the time, around $10 million, we brought in a CRO. And from that point on, I'd say 10 to about 60, we specialized a lot more from within every function. From within marketing, we started specializing teammates into digital marketing, content marketing, SEO, brand marketing, yada, yada, yada. Again, within sales, different customer segments and so on and so forth. To be frank, we likely over specialized, and the customer journey became too segmented and too challenging to change, pivot, improve. Right around like $50 million, we added another use case to PandaDoc. So like things started breaking because our organization and became just too complex. So I'd say from maybe 50, maybe 60 to 100, we've been trying to simplify the customer journey, flatten the org a little bit, and we've been trying to get a little more efficient. So that's a bit of a team dynamic. Now, in terms of the go-to-market channels, from the day one, well, it's not quite true, probably like 0 to 1, getting customers was a lot about just getting the word out in any way we can. Just if there's a way to, like, Yelp somewhere out on the web, like we took that chance, and we, PandaDoc here, there, we do this, we do that, like any kind of web property where we can sort of splash ourselves, we did that, and this like random set of splashes, like mentions, that helped to scale to 1 million. But then from 1 million to 10, I think the core was about building online presence, doing things like SEO, review marketplaces, integration partnerships, getting kind of like involved in ecosystems for PandaDoc. Those ecosystems were CRM ecosystems. In our early days, we did quite a bit in Google Apps, Google Chrome, and those areas. And then from 10, product is the core driver of our growth. It's I send you a document, you get exposed to PandaDoc, you might have a similar need. Or someone experiences PandaDoc, and then they work somewhere else, and they bring the tool with them. Yeah, from that point on, like, product is the core reason we grow and the core engine of growth. And we're sort of fortunate to... It's like first 4 years have been incredibly hard because we were product-led, and we built all those trials and funnels and focused on making PandaDoc easy to use. But that helped to carry the company from 10 and onwards.
And can I ask, I'm sort of curious, so at 10 million, you hired a CRO. Did you have the same CRO from 10 to 60 or 60 to 100? Like I saw a post today, actually, it was a blog post, and a CRO that's just been hired at a new company, this was kind of like at the top of it, was saying, look, I've started this new role as a CRO, but I kind of know and accept I'm only going to be here for 2 years, right? And I think quite CROs and CMOs, there is quite a short tenure within those functions. But within your case, like, how was it? Like, have you had that one CRO, or have you had quite a few at different stages?
2 different people. One gentleman, his name is Nate. He joined us when we were getting to 10. I'm trying to remember whether it was like 10 or 9 or 8 or 11. Unfortunately, I don't remember the precise number. And he departed right around maybe 50, 60 million, something in that ballpark. Mm-hmm. And he's a CEO of a friendly company now. He was a tremendous help, very impactful, and Like we are where we are because of Nate's help. And then somewhere at, I want to say it was like 50, maybe it was a little more than that. We brought in a new gentleman. His name is Keith Rapkin. He's our current CRO, and he helped us scale to where we are today. Different skill sets, different approaches towards solving problems. Obviously, different people, but both I think were lucky hires for us, for the needs and the challenges at the time those folks were hired.
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty good going. So
80 hires that did not work out, and some that did.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty good going to have two CROs from 10 to 100. So they've clearly done a great job. And as you say, you've either been lucky in hiring or you hired well, depending on how you look at it, right? What about yourself as CEO? Like from 1 to 100, I would imagine your role and yourself, you've had to change a little bit and adapt and learn. What would be, or what would you say of some of the changes in how you spend your time and maybe yourself as a leader?
I feel like I had to change a lot. Thankfully, I had a lot of time to do that. 14 years is a good amount of time. And when we co-founded PandaDoc, I was pretty young. So and I didn't have kids at the time. So a lot of the changes, I think, were not only dictated by the company or my role, but just changes in my life. In that time span, I moved from Belarus to US permanently. I had children. A lot of things happened in life, and I feel like I had to change a lot. Professionally, I think I still undergo this transition from being an impatient doer to becoming more of a communicator. First of all, it takes a lot of patience to run a business at scale. I'm not sure I have it. I feel like I need to build a lot of it, and this tendency of getting something done instead of maybe having conversations around the topic so that people get an insight or bring their perspective on how something needs to be done. It's a really tough transition, and I still struggle with it, to be honest. At times I just want to do something, and then at this point I can't do anything in a good enough way for where the company is at. It's I can't. My skill set is not there, and we have over 600 people that are way better at whatever that is. There's going to be someone who's going to be way magnitudes better at whatever that is that needs to be done. So that transition is a tough one, and I think also another transition that I am frankly struggling with is when you run from 0 to 1 million, or even from 1 to 10. Optionality is important. Trying a bunch of things is important. Testing, pivoting, all of that is good. When you are at scale, you you benefit more from deciding what you're not going to do, or what you're not going to focus on, what you got to say no to. And it's tough because if sort of your success in the first however many years of your career dependent on just like getting a lot of things tested, done, and tried, and you've been trying to preserve this optionality, and then you gotta like flip and start like driving focus and start saying no to things and opportunities. Like the bigger the company, the more opportunities you have, right?
Yeah.
So that's another challenging transition. Yeah, and oh my God, I can go like over the list of things that are different now versus sort of back then. I can go over a list of things that I still suck at and like I got to get better at, and God, it's hard. So, but yeah, I don't know if your listeners, it's going to be depressing. It's like so. Yeah, I got you too.
Yeah. Well, we perhaps in a second podcast, we can go through that and sort of deep dive. I'd just conscious of time, so I'd love to go into the quickish fire round here, Mikita. So I'd love to know what one thing has moved the needle the most for you in your career.
Moving my body to Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And surrounding myself with people smarter than I am, more experienced than I am. Yeah, that one thing, I'd say.
What about best advice you've ever received?
Consider every advice that you get, but don't blindly follow it. That advice, no matter who that advice comes from.
It's good advice. What about, is there like a biggest failure you've made or a big mistake that you've made and a lesson learned from that?
Most of the mistakes are made were made because of quick reactional emotional responses to some stressors, events, and the biggest lesson I learned is to make decisions after the emotions are not necessarily past, but at least when those emotions are not at the peak. Take some time to process before I make decisions or before I do something.
What would you say, I'm sure there are many, but is the hardest thing about being a CEO?
The growing scope of responsibility. The growing scope of responsibility. I think that's the hardest. Like a lot of other things you can learn or get over, but I feel like this, like, the responsibility is this sort of thing that keeps growing as the company grows, and it's probably the hardest thing. Like long term, that would be probably the hardest thing.
And finally, have you got a favorite book on business? And if so, what is that?
I'll give you two. One is called Quiet Leadership. It was the best book for me because again I had to go from sort of transition from jumping and solving problems or like telling people exactly how those problems need to be solved from my perspective, my opinion, because I thought that this is the most efficient way to get shit done, and that's just not true. That book taught me the idea that the best way to solve a problem through someone is to have that someone to have their own idea on how to solve that problem. Because I don't remember whether that's a phrase from that book, but, ideas are like children. They're no better ones than your own. And, that book taught me that. I mean, that book explained this concept to me, and I believed in that concept. And I still do in many cases, I follow the old Mikita rules, or old me rule, and hopefully sometimes I just, I remember those learnings, and then do things differently. And then the other one is just like a really good practical book for founders that I'm sure a lot of your listeners trying to fundraise or thinking about fundraising, thinking about starting a business. That book is called Pitch Anything. It talks about psychology and even like touches on neurobiology, connecting those subjects with fundraising. It's the best book on fundraising that I think I've read. It's a really fun one, and I highly recommend this book to those looking to learn to fundraise or pitch.
Very cool. Those are two new ones for me. I've actually not heard of them, so we'll definitely dig those out. Thanks for sharing that. And as we wrap up, Mikita, obviously, first of all, you're like I mentioned at the beginning, you're coming to Dublin, speaking at your first SaaS.doc conference this October. Do you know yet what you're going to be speaking about and sharing on the SaaS.doc stage?
It would be a fireside chat, so I'd imagine the conversation is going to be akin the conversation that you and I have had today.
Yeah.
I'm going to Dublin for the first time. I've never been.
Okay.
I'm thinking to bring my daughter and oldest daughter, and I'm actually really excited for this trip. I want to take her to the event,
Yep.
She'll see daddy on stage for the first time. She just entered middle school. Maybe that would be one of the things that would motivate her to like math more.
Yeah.
That's unlikely, but we'll see.
Yeah. Awesome that you get to do that, and you are doing that. And Dublin is a great city, lots of fun, and Ireland. If you can spend some time, it's quite a smallish country. You can drive anywhere within a few hours, and lots of great sites and landmarks, and fun to be had. So looking forward to meeting you in person at SaaS Europe. And as we wrap up, Mikita, like people want to reach out to you before perhaps seeing you and speaking with you at SaaSdoc in Dublin. Where can people find you online? Where's the best place, and where can they find PandaDoc?
They can find PandaDoc at www.pandadoc.com. That's easy. And I'm on LinkedIn. I sporadically check social media outside LinkedIn, really. But yeah, LinkedIn or Mikita at pandadoc.com for whatever pointed need that you have. And I'll be at the conference.
Yeah.
SaaS.doc Dublin. Happy to chat in person to all of you who made it to the end of this podcast.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Mikita, thank you so much. And I'm sure many people who've been listening will love to meet and speak with you in person and have that opportunity. So thank you so much, Mikita Mikado, for being a great guest on the SaaS Revolution Show today. We'll see you at SaaS Europe in October.
Thank you, Alexander. I appreciate it.